Welcome to Flatfoots and Fools, a podcast about detective games. Today, I am joined by Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm a game developer and sometimes historian.
Today, we will be discussing Color Gray Games' deduction-focused game, The Case of the Golden Idol, from 2022. We will not be covering the DLC for this game. That will come at a later date. When did you first come across this game?
Oh, a couple years back. It was part of the tail end of the pandemic was, increasingly trying to go through libraries of games. And a bunch of friends decided they wanted to just pick some random games and have everybody play it, see what was going on. So we picked Golden Idol and had a go at it then.
I don't remember how I ended up coming across the game, but I think I stumbled sort of through like puzzle adventure games and into the Golden Idol somehow.
I mean, it definitely made waves when it came out, so I can see how it could pop up.
And then I had my initial thought was, oh God, what is this art style? But then after a while, it started to grow on me.
You know what the art style is? Because the devs got asked about it. And it's their attempt at actually trying to replicate two different classical artists.
Ooh.
It's William Hogarth and Gustave Doré, which then got weirdly abstracted and then pixelated for the game. Doré does a bunch of, if you've ever seen like old Victorian lithographs of like weird demons or peak Victorian slums and stuff, that's all Doré, all the weird little grotesqueries of the 1800s. And then Hogarth does a bunch of classical portraits. And so they just sort of tried to slam the two together. Like, what if Hogarth did all these portraits of guys, normally they're all just in wigs and stuff, but maybe they're a bit more fucked up now. That's what they were using as the basis for all this.
Oh, that's perfect. 'Cause after a while, my thought was like, oh, this kind of feels almost like a caricature artist. The very exaggerated features, which at first I was like, oh, I'm not sure I like this. But after a while, I was like, no, I like these characters now. The exaggerated features help to add more personality to the characters because you don't get a normal narrative set in the game.
Yeah.
Compared to, something with a lot more of a narrative focus. But yeah, by the end of it, I feel like kind of, get to know who they are a bit more.
I'm sure we'll get deeper into it later on. But the exaggerated features just help with tells in certain parts of the game in certain scenarios.
So the general discussion will be light spoilers for basic mechanical stuff, how stuff works. Then we'll get into actual plot spoilers in a block at the end. So I came to this game after Obra Dinn, like, let's say almost everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking, and we've got notes here about the Obra Dinn being an explicit inspiration for this game.
Oh, yeah. No, the devs have had several bajillion interviews, and repeatedly, time and time again, they point specifically to Obra Dinn as one of the major inspirations. You can see it. There's one level in particular which gets really, really Obra Dinn-ish, I think, which I'm not sure if we want to go into the actual plot just yet, but...
Do you remember what number it was? Because the final one is case number 11.
No, this is number 5? It's the one where the vase explodes.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like number 5. I'd have to check again. Yeah, the cabin.
Yeah, the cabin. But you open the scene and it's like death. It's peak Obra Dinn.
What is it? Immediate res, where you toss someone like straight into some action?
Oh yeah, that's the one. That was another bit of Obra Dinn influence, is the puzzles are a lot broader thematically overall, but all of them involve somebody dying.
Yes, it is very much investigating the death of someone/everyone. I really enjoyed this game because it was, after Obra Dinn, one of the few games that made me feel like I was a detective, actually uncovering what happened to all of these people with the clues laying around.
Are you a detective, though?
So you're not a detective directly, but you're doing the things that kind of make you feel like you're solving the crimes as a detective, even though thematically you are a disembodied spirit.
Yeah, because you solving the case does not affect the plot at all.
Right. And I saw someone call this a static deduction game, where you've got these static scenes, you're deducing what's going on, but your actions don't affect the plot line going forward.
Huh.
And I'm still sort of mulling over that in my head because I'm not sure exactly what the counter would be.
Well, an immersive deduction game, I guess, that you are in the story, I suppose, would be the other side of it.
Yeah, and I was thinking of something like a Duck Detective, where you are a character in the story. So you still do these observations and deductions, but then you actually go and talk to people. Your actions then precipitate the next plot points. So I think that would probably be the contrast.
Yeah.
or a contrast at least.
It's as you're detecting people involved react to different ways. Somebody tries to cover up something.
Mm-hmm.
Your discovery instigates a guy going back to the scene of the crime to try to hide something. They go, aha, busted. But not here. You are, as you say, the sort of disembodied spirit, just watching from a distance.
The game is broken up into a sequence of cases that follow mostly linearly, and they escalate in complexity. It has a very sort of minimal tutorial for the first case, which is very simple. Like you have two people and one action happening. And then as you progress to each case, they tend to get larger and have more complex moving parts, to the point where one of the final cases has something like 8 different locations you can investigate with multiple areas of clues.
Yeah. Oh, God, that final case.
And I do like the way that it escalates continuously, because it feels like they can increase the difficulty and sort of the complexity over time. You don't hit a very big wall, and you can sort of learn as you go along.
Yeah.
Although I definitely noticed that if you get more information out of some of the early cases, it can make the following cases a little bit easier to figure out what's going on.
And the other way around. I found that there was a couple of times where I solved a later case, went back to an earlier one and went, oh shit, that's what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Like just the death of Sebastian Cloudsley right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And, his 2 jackets lying around, which in the case itself are just labeled as research jacket and some other. I don't think the other one actually is labeled. And there's a mask up in the corner. And you see all this later, and you go, oh, that's what that actually is.
It makes a good second playthrough at a later date, because then knowing what comes next, a lot of the earlier things that seemed like background noise are actually breadcrumbs or references, which was a lot of fun. So in some interviews, we've seen that the puzzle development started with them creating the overall narrative and then breaking things into plot beats, which puts it a bit in contrast with Obra Dinn, which wasn't broken into distinct cases in the same way. I'm trying to think of any other games that I've come across yet that use the Obra Dinn method of sort of one very long continuous system, because I think everything else I've seen has been broken into cases like this, even like scene investigators. If you've come across any that...
You have the greater forte in these games than I do. And looking at people talking about the different ways that they develop these games and the mysteries and the puzzles within them, even when you manage to break down a story into individual plot beats, I struggle to figure out how you come up with the specific puzzles within them.
That would be a good developer interview.
Yeah, it's always been interesting. I think the final test for a lot of this sort of thing is being able to analyze how these games are made and go, oh, okay, these are the mechanics. This is the approach. Let's see if this can work, and then try to make something else up. Not necessarily saying like, oh, yeah, let's make a game, but like, it's fun to make the models. It's fun to understand the whole mechanism of the development.
I really like this game from a mechanical perspective, because it solves a lot of problems with detective games. Because one of the huge ones is proving to the game that you know the answer. So in a lot of more like narrative focused games, you have to go and talk to certain people. You have to interact with a specific object to cause a trigger within the game to recognize, okay, you fulfilled these conditions. Now you are allowed to go to the testing checkpoint and see if you know what's going on. This game is a lot better about that, where they sort of just give you a fill-in-the-blank paragraph.
That's the thing. I felt that this game still kind of did that in a way that frustrated me, especially because I did play this after playing Obra Dinn, where Obra Dinn just, there is no specific prompt. You look around and you intuit things however you intuit things. Here, yeah, you do still need to do a bit of like the old Sierra games, click the specific thing to get the words that you can fill in the thing. Even if you look at a scene, you go, oh, I see what's going on. You can only actually resolve a case once you've clicked on specific items in specific ways so you can get the word that you can then fill in.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. Because like Obra Dinn is, I would say, the farthest on the zero restrictions spectrum. Something like Scene Investigators comes very soon after that, where you're given the set of questions right at the beginning, like who was present in the apartment when someone broke in, who shot who, and something else. And as soon as you can type the names in and hit submit, you can go. So like if you already knew the answers, you could just skip the case. Whereas this one, they do make you interact with the objects to pick up the terms, but then even further on the restrictions comes like the Sherlock Holmes or Poirot series of games, where it's much more of a linear narrative type of game. So the hoops you have to jump through are much stricter.
So at that end of the spectrum, it isn't even just, but thou must approach it this way. It's a very specific, this and this combine in this way, and you can only trigger this with this. Try again, do this approach. That's the only way to progress.
Yeah. So compared to that, this felt very unrestricted, but I see compared to Obra Dinn, more restrictive. But on the upside, they did design their questions to not give away the mystery either, because that's another tough problem is how do you ask a question of the player without either being too hard and too vague so that they have no idea what's going on, or giving away the answer with the question itself. And I think they did take a lot of time to make sure that the fill-in-the-blank paragraphs give you enough information that they can function as a hint without completely serving up the good stuff on a silver platter. Roger, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of story to uncover, and I feel like the mystery itself still ends up fairly guided. I mean, even when you're still working to get all the words for the scrolls, for the thinking window, you do still have a kind of Mad Libs fill in the blank. You have a very clear structure of what the solution is supposed to be, even if you don't have the specific items to fill in just yet. But it's that sort of broader secondary narrative, not the explicit case, but the overall story, which is not laid out directly. You still have to glean that just on your own. And I think that caught with me more because of that, because I could just look and figure out what the hell's going on my own.
And an additional tool that they added, each case has the main fill in the blank, but then they have a bunch of supplementary things for you to fill out that will often help you figure out what's going on along the way without directly pointing things at you. So one of the cases will have a list of all the suspects. So it's got all the portraits, and then you sort of find out who everyone's names are. And you fill that in, and it'll confirm it if it's correct. And that then will make it easier for you to fill out the main what happened in this scene. But they might also have, who was staying in each room of this building? And that, once it's filled out correctly, will help you to figure out there's elements of the bigger plot here that I can see. And now that I know who was staying in this room, that's relevant to the bigger mystery, which I also really liked. Because it was a way to give you hints that isn't just, here we're giving you a hint, like you're working for it, but you're also gaining more information by working for it.
You're right in that the engagement goes all over the place, and my cat is desperately trying to bite my finger right now. I'm very sorry.
Third panelist, what's his opinion on this situation?
Captain John, what do you think? You never saw that much in the way of actual animal interactions in this game. I don't know, for all the scattering everywhere, the whole setting, it was very sterile in some ways. I don't know, you saw a horse once, and other than that, every scene is very frozen with just a few people in a couple of places. Even things that happen in a big city or urban or a big room with a lot of people somehow feel very clean.
I suspect that was in order to cut down on red herrings and things that aren't as relevant to the investigation, as well as a small development team not having the resources to fill out every scene to the maximum level.
Small development team is basically just two brothers.
Yeah, tiny development team. And so I'm not going to worry that there always could be more. But I have bumped into some puzzle games where I think they had a larger development team, and the amount of clutter just ended up driving me nuts, because it felt like I can interact with everything and there's a ton going on, but only one item in this entire building is relevant to the puzzle or the story. But it also wasn't a game about sorting through lots of information, unlike something like Her Story. So it didn't add anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can see the advantage adding noise in some cases, but there does have to be, noise for noise's sake, I guess.
Yeah, and it completely just depends on what you're going for with the game. So I don't know if it would have helped a lot besides just getting you into the setting a bit more.
Well, it ties into that broader, non-explicit story, because there's all these... How much do you want to get into actual, spoilers and overall plot specifics here?
Let's just do it. So I'll put a marker down here that we are going to enter the spoiler zone.
The spoiler zone.
So I think we can dig into the setting, especially as it progresses along, and then the larger plot.
So it's a fictional Britain in the late 1700s. And you have all these elements of just what Britain is like. Like they have the colonies that are mentioned. It's not actually called Britain. It's called Albion, which, that's another name for the place. But yeah, it's the Kingdom of Albion. There's another place called Aquitania nearby, which is also just France. And Albion is a kingdom with a parliament. You have parliamentarians, you have some political parties.
Now you've got like the Seven Seas Company.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a bunch of people in powdered wigs.
And by the end of it, you have like a reverse French Revolution. And I feel like some of the foundations for that, because the world you see is still fairly clean and simplified and focused because of the cases, it's hard to see why that reverse French Revolution happens at all, because all these terrible sins that they scream about, you get a couple of brief moments of like, this man is playing a violin. Oh no. But you never get the sense that there's enough turmoil to really justify any of this.
It feels like all the turmoil that you're aware of is caused by the people who become the Order Party.
Mm-hmm.
Although there was some weird breadcrumbs early on. Edmund Cloudsley's bookshelf has a bunch of like building the proper and just society books on it.
Oh, what was that?
The case where his sister gets poisoned, you're at his house.
Oh.
It's the one where you have to figure out like what levels the servants are all on. So there's some little bits, but I didn't recognize it the first time through. Only when I replayed it again, I went, oh, hey, this shows that he's been thinking about this just society thing for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, shit. I missed that entirely.
I mean, it's super easy to overlook. It's like one or two books on a bookshelf. They don't have any keywords that you can interact with, so it's very easy to click on it, just go, oh, no keywords here for me to pick up, move on.
Huh.
But I ended up stumbling across it because I was trying to do the decoding thing, and I was just looking in the wrong places for all of the documents. And so I stumbled across that and went, oh, this sounds like what the dictator is going to do later. And then realizing, oh, yeah, they're the same dude.
Yeah, I mean, might as well lay out that part of the whole plot, too. The Golden Idol is just this weird-ass little tool that does very simple but miraculous commands, like can take life and give life, take heat, give heat sort of deal.
And you can do like air and matter.
Yeah, which our boy Edmund here figures out the mechanics of pretty early on, and then uses to fake his own death, masquerade as someone entirely different, take over a cult, form a new political party, and stage like I don't know, I want to call it a reactionary fascist revolution almost.
I mean, it's pretty theocratic.
Well, theocratic, because the actual French Revolution is in its like peak terror stages with Robespierre. Is about the cult of reason and this weird, I don't want to say church.
Oh yeah, that's fair. It's not exactly theocratic. It's moralistic, but not theocratic.
Yeah. And I feel like the Order Party's version of this, where they're like aggressively taking over and doing all this weird esoteric ideas about virtue and moralism and stuff, feels like a sort of conservative mirror of the French Revolution. They want to get rid of everything else and instill their own rule because they think everybody else is too libertine, too liberal, not moral and virtuous enough, which is kind of the opposite of the French Republican spirit of like, fuck the king, fuck the church, kill them all. Ultimately ending up with the same thing of like this weird tribunal, all these executions in the revolution's case with the guillotine, in the Order Party's case, the Golden Idol just sapping them of their age. But it ends up with the same vibe from, I feel like, opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yep, and you end up with the heads of the Order Party killing each other over the Golden Idol. The de facto dictator ends up going to reclaim the woman he was in love with and getting blown up by a drunken guy with a cannon.
I fucking love it.
That guy, Peter Baddeley?
Badsley?
So he's a recurring character. You see him constantly gambling, doing stuff throughout the whole plot line. And then apparently he wins a cannon in a card game and was hiding out in the manor with his wife. And so the dictator shows up there to kidnap the wife. And apparently he pulverizes them all with the cannon. You only get to see the after effects. The first time it took me so long to figure out where the dictator's body was because it was just pulped with a couple of his guards.
Yeah, no, it's one of the questions in that final scene is like, where is the dictator? And you can go check out that mansion, and there's the cannon, and there's just a bunch of charred lumps on the ground. And yeah, one of them does turn out to be the dictator, but
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
hell of a time for me to figure that one out.
Very funny to see the second time through. Side note, I went through the game again just recently, and when I started up, it's like, oh, there's the regular version or the Redux. I was like, oh, what's the Redux? Well, they changed some of the UI elements, add an additional hint system, and I think made it Steam Deck compatible. So I was like, oh, I'll try that. What's the new hint system? They added an additional bit, because before you could get regular escalating hints by doing a tedious little like object matching game, and then it would give you a hint to figure out what's going on. They added an additional thing where you can request a hint for any block that you're solving, and it'll tell you which specific items in there are wrong. Won't tell you what the real answer is, but it'll just say, okay, this box, and this box are wrong. But you can only do that, I think, 3 times per case total. But it can be really good if you've got one of these giant things of text, something is wrong, and you're not really sure what. I swore up and down I had one in there correct and couldn't figure it out. And so I used that hint, looked at it, and realized I had switched a first and a last name and just couldn't realize that in my brain. So I was kind of tearing my hair out like, this is correct. Why am I not getting this? And it turns out, yeah, the error between keyboard and chair.
I mean, yeah, I can see the advantage of the mechanic because they also try to do a bit of the Oberdin thing where they won't confirm each individual act of getting something correct and try to hold off and make you guess a whole lump of something before it tells you if things are right or not. Being able to go back and get like specific things highlighted, yeah, that can help the player, but that kind of goes against the spirit of the mechanics, doesn't it?
A bit. I only ended up using it once playing through the main story, not counting the DLC, so I don't know how much of a problem it was. I would be interested to have somebody play through the game completely fresh for the first time and see if that type of hint messes with the mechanics. One of the possibilities is that because it doesn't tell you what the right answers are, it won't end up being as, like, it might just be a very situational, this is good, but the rest of the time it's eh. I'd want to see how someone would compare that to the already existing hint system, because they added it for a reason, but I don't know what the reason is.
Okay, here's a broader question for you. You've definitely played more mystery games than me. How replayable are these in general? Or what's the most replayable one that you found?
Most of them are not highly replayable, depending on your specific ability to retain details. So for me, it took 6 years before I was ready to play Oberdin a second time, because by that time I had forgotten almost all of the specific details of like which guy was what. I only remembered 1 or 2 key things that had driven me nuts before. So the second time I played through, those couple key things I remembered, but I was still able to enjoy solving 50 out of 60 of the fates I had no recollection of.
I ask that because my theory here is that when you release a game like Golden Idol, you want people to really engage with all the mechanics. You really want them to really earn solving the mystery. And you want them to really engage with all the detecting in it and all the deduction and really, really get into it. But a couple years down the line, you can find guides for Golden Idol anywhere. It's easy enough to look this up. You can find the solutions if you want to. And now it's about having people experience what is going on in the game. Maybe making it a little easier to work through the specific mysteries in order for you to feel more of what's going on in a scene at any given time.
So almost like adding a narrative mode experience, but not fully that direction.
Yeah, no, a little bit of a facilitating and ease in solving it so that players who have already heard about the game, maybe they listen to somebody talk about it and they already have an idea of what's going on. Now they can just not quite watch, but they can afford to step back and wallow in the broader picture of things, not get too focused on the specific mechanics and miss all these other parts of the game.
That's definitely possible. Another option might be they were testing mechanics for the sequel. I would have to look up the exact dates of when the update was made. But the second game just came out 3 months ago now, 4 months ago.
Thereabouts, yeah, it was this winter.
And it did not have that same hint per panel. So I'm wondering if this was something they figured, let's try this on our existing game, see how people like it, and we can decide if we want to put it on the new one.
Looked at the store page just now, and yes and no.
Oh.
The Redux update came out a month before Rise of the Golden Idol came out.
Okay, yeah, that is not enough time for extensive testing on a new mechanic.
So I think it's less extensive testing and more just sort of introducing the next game's mechanics earlier on.
And I think you're right about making it easier, because when the new game is going to come out, a bunch more people are going to look back at the old one and think, maybe I should try that first.
And to have the mechanics then align between the two games in that way, yeah, I can see the benefit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. So this game, I think both it and Obra Dinn have inspired a very large amount of following games. Some of them seem very much what if this game, but different setting, and others seem to be trying to iterate on the formula. In the recent Steam Next Fest, I tried multiple different games that are very, very inspired. Here, like I have one called Little Problems, Murder at the Birch Tree Theater, I believe Suradia, an art retrospective. There was another one too, I gotta get my list out. But it's clear that a lot of people want to develop this type of game further or continue where it's at. I'm looking forward to trying a bunch of these out when they come out. The demos were a little taste, but I couldn't tell if they were adding anything new fundamentally. Are you interested in following this sort of thread as it keeps going?
Yeah, well, I mean, following the lineage of games, what inspires what takes from what innovates, and then their innovations percolate out through other games. That's always fascinating to see the way that all these games inform other ones.
Yeah, I really feel like Obra Dinn was a renaissance moment, for lack of a better term.
Oh, it was a huge thing, definitely.
Like, it was big, and I think it inspired a lot of other people to do this type of game on a reasonable scale.
Reasonable scale. I also feel like world events informed things a bit, because Golden Idol's early prototyping and ideation began in early 2021.
Oh, yeah, so COVID time.
Yeah. So I think a big part of all these things, of having a bunch of small mystery games coming up around the same time, all inspired by each other, is partially from, well, we all had to sit through the pandemic. We all sat down, we played some games, we went, oh shit, that's good. And as the months progressed, people start to go, well, no, wait, what if these mechanics change? Why can't we use this for this? And you end up with all these ideas coming out of that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially because a lot of them seem to be coming to fruition about now, and with a normal 2 to 3 year game development cycle, that seems pretty normal, because a lot of these are very much tiny team projects. I would say 1-2 people a lot of the time.
And it's not even like everybody would have the idea and immediately start it too. It's that you're in the pandemic, you hunker down, you play a game, you get an idea, but the world continues to happen. But you sit in the idea. Now that you've had it, maybe a couple years down the line, something pops up and you have an opportunity. Now you can pursue it. So it's this moment of germination, but not everything just immediately kicks off because of it.
Yeah, I wonder, got to do some dev interviews to figure that out.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to cover before we wrap things up?
We've talked a lot about, it's fascinating to go through the development process of the game. But the mechanics, you've heard me give my takes on that. It's fun to see the setting that they built out of it. I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk about the DLC and the sequels at some point. I do love the world that they made. That clearly it's Europe, that there's historical beats that you can recognize, but it's all slightly weird and fucked. So it's enough that you can intuit, oh, this is a parliament, these are parliamentarians, this is an MP, this is a dictator, but it's still all on its own terms. That was a fun element to it all.
And I really liked seeing the success of a tiny team project like this.
Yeah.
They were able to put something out. A lot of people have really loved it, and they've continued on. They've got enough plans for, I think, 4 DLCs for the second game. The next one's coming out in 2 days on data recording.
Oh, goodness.
They won the best aha moment in the Thinky Game Awards.
That's something specifically they talked about in some of these early interviews. They really, really wanted to design their puzzles around having aha moments.
Well, it worked for me.
Yeah. And if people listen to this and you haven't played the game yet, by God, I hope you get your aha moment too.
Yes, I absolutely recommend everyone to go and check it out if you think the game might be for you. They even have demos for almost all of them. So if you just want to try the demo for the first game, in the case of the Golden Idol, it's available on Steam probably all year round, at least during every Next Fest. And that'll give you, I think, the first 2 or 3 cases to try. And if you like doing those cases, you'll probably like the rest of them.
So yeah, folks should check it out.
Well, that'll do it for us tonight. So have a good day, everyone.
Have a good tomorrow as well.
Podcast is edited by Peter Crevier. Podcast art is by Lolita Gross. Music by Antonic Music.